A turtle travels only when it sticks its neck out. This famous Korean proverb tells that when one does not try new things and face the world, they won't accomplish anything. If somebody doesn't go out and make things happen, things won't happen. When people face their fears and do things that they wouldn't normally do, they are displaying courage. In Orson Scott Card's sci-fi classic Ender's Game, Dink Meeker is the most courageous character. Throughout the story, Dink expresses how strongly he feels about leaders. Dink is very defiant, as one of his strongest beliefs is, commanders have just as much authority as you let them have. Meeker believes that commanders don't control their armies, the armies mold the commander. If the commander is too laid back and doesn't make rules, he or she won't be respected, but if they are too firm, he or she will not be liked. However, if the commander is laid back, his or her army won't listen because the army thinks he or she is completely carefree, while a strict leader will not be defied because the army is afraid. Dink knows how he can control his commander, so he acts defiantly and exposes Rosen's empty threats. Another reason why Dink is the most courageous character in Ender's Game is because he is willing to believe things that others don't even think about. Dink's theory about Battle School is, these other armies, they aren't the enemy. It's the teachers, they're the enemy. They get us to fight each other, to hate each other. Win, win, win. It amounts to nothing. We kill ourselves, go crazy trying to beat each other, and they decide whether we are right for the program. But nobody ever asked if the program was right for us. Dink tries to explain this belief to Ender before Ender can be sucked into the game permanently. Dink is the only student at Battle School who sees through the game and knows what the officers are doing to the kids, and he is very courageous in the sense that he tries to expose the school's true purpose to the young, impressionable Ender. Dink explains, I won't let them do it to me. I can't believe you haven't seen through all this crap yet, Ender, but I guess you're young. Dink has the courage to convince himself that the people who have control of him don't have complete control of his mind, and he can think for himself and not fall for their tricks. Overall, Dink is not only courageous physically, but mentally as well. One way Dink displays his courage is by wanting challenges. He always wants to try new, difficult things. Even though Ender is young and undeveloped as a soldier, Dink still wants Ender in his tomb. In their conversation, Dink and Ender have the exchange, Ender said, I'm Ender Wiggin. I know, said Meeker. I'm in your tomb. I know. I'm pretty inexperienced. Look, Wiggin, I know all this. Why do you think I asked Rose to get you for me? Even though Dink knows that Ender is not a good soldier yet, he still requests his commander to trade for Ender. He explains this by saying, I've watched your practice sessions with the launchies. I think you show some promise. Bonso is stupid, and I wanted you to get better training than Petra could give you. All she can do is shoot. Dink is unafraid to take in and mold Ender, and even though Ender is very inexperienced and helpless, Dink takes on the challenge. Meeker is confident in himself and believes he can do a better job than anyone else can do to make Ender a great soldier. In the end, Dink Meeker is the most courageous character in Ender's Game thanks in part to his confidence and in his abilities and his yearning for challenges. A common belief is that Ender Wiggin is the most courageous character in Ender's Game. However, those who believe this are incorrect due to Ender's instability and the fact that Ender doesn't know what he is actually doing when he does things that could be seen as courageous. Some main things that Ender does that seem courageous are when he fights and murders the bullies Stilson and Bonso. Both fights are similar, but Ender isn't displaying true courage in either fight because he acts out of self-defense and then feels sorry for himself. After he finishes both boys, Ender displays his instability by bursting into tears and trying to convince himself he isn't a killer. However, the main reason why Ender isn't courageous is perfectly summed up by Colonel Graff, and this is when Ender unknowingly defeats the buggers in what he thinks is a simulation. Graff describes how lacking of courage Ender is when he says, it had to be a trick, or you couldn't have done it. Ender isn't courageous because he isn't doing things that he wouldn't normally do for a purpose, he does them without even knowing what he's doing. Overall, Dink Meeker is the most courageous character in the sci-fi classic Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. He is defiant, He believes things and sees through tricks that others don't even think about, and Dink yearns for challenges and trusts his abilities. Many people may think that Ender is the most courageous, but this is not correct due to Ender's obliviousness and instability. Courage is when somebody does something they wouldn't normally do, and the character in Ender's game who displays the most courage is a boy named Dink Meeker.